Okay, today we're going to take you through the installation of a Minnkota Co-pilot. This is an accessory for the Powerdrive series of trolling motors, and this gives you a little fob that can go around your neck. You can steer left or right, increase or decrease speed. It's a wireless accessory, so it works with the BT series of the Minnkota Powerdrives, which should be all of the ones manufactured in the last 5 years or so. We'll just have a look at what comes inside this package, and we'll come back and do the installation. Just a gentle reminder, whenever working on electrical systems of your boat, you should make sure that what you're working on is disconnected from power. This can either be removing the plug to the trolling motor from the receptacle, or turn off the circuit breaker that's in the back of the boat. As far as an accessory add-on goes, this kit's pretty complete. There is a manual in here just in case you get tired of me. The other thing that they've done, which I kind of like, is you can orient your fob either up or down depending on which way you're more comfortable with, so it's kind of got two different options there. The other thing that's nice about the fob is that there's screws required in order to get into the battery, so stuff's not going to fall out just because it clips in place on the boat. You're going to keep things nice and tight and secure. The optional or the accessory mounting screws are in there as well, and then of course our PCB assembly that has been what we in the electronics industry called potted, so that chemical keeps all the moisture out of there, because obviously you don't want moisture in there when it's in operation. Lastly, this is intentional. This is an antenna, so we'll talk some more about that and where it goes when you put it in the installation. And last but not least, you've got a handy dandy little sticker here that you can add to the base that's got not only the model number of this thing, but the serial number, so that you know what's in there at a future date when you need to get it serviced. That's the overview. Let's take her out and get her installed. Okay, in order to get started, the first thing you have to do is remove the two side panels, or the bezels, on the outboard motor. There's one on the left and there's one on the right. Something to know is these screws you can over tighten, and what you do when you do that is you break the little mounting spacer that's inside each one of these bezels. So something I recommend that you have in your toolbox is Loctite 242 or something similar, and all that does is it means that you can just tighten these screws up snug when you're doing these back on, and that way they'll stay in place even in rough water, and you won't damage the bezels themselves. So I'll get started on that. Okay, I've taken the left bezel and the right bezel off, and you can just run the left bezel along this cable. You don't have to do anything to remove it. These are the standoffs that I was talking about, that if you tighten the screws too much, you'll crush this plastic because it's not particularly strong. So again, best idea, use some Loctite 242, tighten them snug but don't over tighten them, then they'll stay put even on the water. Now there's a trick to getting this out. You can fight with this quite a bit, but the trick is take, either hand, try and get, if you look really closely, there's a hole with a notch from the plastic on either side of here. And the easiest way to get this to come off, and you don't even have to do much with this to do it, is squeeze gently in this direction, and this will snap right out. So there you go. Now you've got access to everything. Okay, in the package they include two self-tapping stainless steel screws, look like about a size 6. Here's your main logic board. And one of the things you'll notice before you mount this, there's a little button, and I'll explain what that's for in just a sec. And the way that this this is called a potted printed circuit board, is supposed to orient in here, is it's supposed to be covered up. So you want this so that the cables run towards the rounded side of this bezel, and once you install it there, then we can start putting everything back together again. This is how you mount the potted board. The plastic housing that is potted inside is facing you. 2 stainless steel screws go into the bosses that are on the right-hand bezel. Make sure that the cables are going forward towards the curved edge, and you also want to take that yellow antenna lead and push it into the little anchors that they've got kind of surrounding the board. There's a total of 6 of those. And then take it back out and we're ready to install. Hooking this up, pretty straightforward. This is the cable that was the existing foot pedal cable that's going to the potted main circuit board inside the Powerdrive, and this other connection, which is a male, and the existing one was a female, so they just go together. Remember to tighten them up quite snug because they are going in there and you're never going to touch them again. That's it. So the manual says that you can actually leave this connector on the outside. I'm not that big a fan of that. Back here, kind of where the back of the sort of top engine status bezel is and where the main circuit board is, there is some room there. So I'm just going to try and sort of put these cables together and sort of anchor them somehow, kind of like that, and get them in a place where they're not going to be moved around. And then only this part of this one cable is going to be up against this metal side plate. Here's a tip for you. When you're working on the cable routing aspect of this, and those of you that know me know I'm completely retentive about cable routing just because I found that neatness really does count with stuff like this. If you put the screw that's more towards the outside of the boat end of the bezel in just a couple of turns, then you can still have this bezel sort of move around a little bit, but it should keep all the wiring where you want it and where it will be permanently. Now what I've done with the cable that's going to stay inside the trolling motor is we've obviously connected up the 2 connectors. I've given this cable tie, I've put it in a position where the 2 connectors together can actually go sideways, and they'll sit in the bottom up against the inside back of this plastic plate that's on the main indicator panel. And then the other cable run that's going to our new foot pedal location is basically just running down and underneath everything else, so that the strain relief can be screwed down and everything's got a kind of a clear path. When you're doing this cable tie, you're going to want to cut this off once you're satisfied that this has got some play to it. You don't want it too tight, and you also want this where it's going to be out of harm's way when you put everything back together. Last but not least, we want to put the strain relief back and make sure that the main cable goes through the big slot, and there's 2 smaller slots. The foot pedal can go through the one that's closer to the screw. That'll just give it a little bit more leverage on the cable so it won't move around that much. And last but not least, good. Putting things back together is pretty much just reversing the order that you took everything apart. So this plastic indicator panel has got to snap into the 2 little side holes that are in each of the plates. So I'm just going to get that. You want to check while you're doing this, make sure that there's nothing in this region right here. There we go. Next, we just want to do our side bezels. I'm going to start with the one on the left. Remember our little trick about using some Loctite 242, little dab will glue ya. And I'm not going to bother showing you retightening all these four. Now, when you get here, just a little bit on the snug side. Don't, whatever you do, tighten those things down, because you'll just really crush the inside plastic bezel portion, and then all that'll happen is your bezel will be loose. Something you should check is that the spring for the release is still active and it's still working. Okay, last but not least, we have to pair the fob that came with our CoPilot board with the CoPilot itself. The way that you do that is, remember we talked about a little push button that was on the board. The way you access that is through a hole. It's on the right hand side bezel, and you may not have even noticed it up until now, but it's near the top and it's pretty much in the middle of this bezel. So to pair it up, you need to use something that's relatively small diameter but reasonably strong, like a screwdriver, or I'm using the butt end of a 1/8 inch drill bit, and you just reach in there and push until you hear a solid beep. Now you can add this fob. So you just push the button as many times as it takes to get 4 beeps, and then you're all paired up. So now if I turn this on, my trolling motor will start doing what I've told it to do with the fob. That's it, easy peasy. Okay, one last check and then we're done. Check and make sure that the fob has all the functions that you would expect, including speed up, slow down, right, left, all that sort of stuff, and that you can still do everything that you used to do with the foot pedal. That seems to be fine. I guess that's it. Okay, so we're out on the water with the CoPilot. And this actually, for the amount of money it is I think a great accessory, because it allows you to get out of that mode where you're constantly running back and forth to the steering wheel in order to try and keep the boat going in the direction that you want it to go. Or in the case of a power drive, constantly fighting with the foot pedal. So especially if you've got a downrigger and you're trying to feel like you're not doing 3 things at once, this is one of the solutions to the problem, because you can basically run this thing from anywhere in the boat. And what it also allows you to do is it allows you to sit other places in the boat other than the usual place that you sit. Any place that's comfortable, or you can see your fish finder better, or take care of your rods or whatever. So I think this is an excellent accessory. And hopefully you found the video helpful in terms of how you set it up and get it installed. So that's it for now. See you again on another episode of Eric's Tech Talks. Well, that's our installation and review of the CoPilot accessory for the Minnkota Powerdrive. If you found today's video useful, please make sure that you click the subscribe button below. It just helps us bring you more of this kind of content. Also, if you're interested in purchasing the CoPilot, the link is below. And make sure you come and see more of our videos either on YouTube or at our website, www.goldenchannels.com.